For decades, Pluto was the forgotten child of our solar system, demoted from planet to dwarf planet, drifting silently in the icy darkness. Few expected it to hold any major scientific surprises. But then came the New Horizons mission, which in 2015 sent back the first ever close-up images of Pluto. It showed a world far more complex than anyone had imagined. Glaciers, mountains, a possible subsurface ocean, but none of that prepared scientists for what would come next. In late 2024, while reanalyzing data from New Horizons, a team at the Southwest Research Institute noticed a strange anomaly. It wasn't an image or a chemical signature. It was a signal. A narrowband radio transmission, buried deep in archived data, appeared to originate not from the probe, but from the surface of Pluto itself. At first, the team thought it was a glitch. Cosmic rays could scramble instruments. Solar wind interference was common. But this wasn't noise. It was structured, repeating, encoded. The signal pulsed in a pattern that eerily resembled binary, not the kind created by chance, but the kind designed by intelligence. The data was passed discreetly to NASA, which initially downplayed it. Officially, no public comment was made. But behind the scenes, a classified task force began investigating. The signal was triangulated to a specific region near the western edge of Sputnik Planitia, a vast nitrogen ice plain the size of Texas. The area had already been flagged as geologically active, which itself was bizarre given Pluto's distance from the Sun. But a radio transmission from a frozen dwarf planet with no known atmosphere capable of supporting technology? It didn't make sense. Soon, rumors began to leak. A whistleblower from the mission posted on an encrypted forum claiming that the binary signal, once decoded, resembled a recursive sequence, a kind of mathematical feedback loop often used in artificial intelligence algorithms. That single claim set the scientific community on fire. Was it possible? Could something on Pluto be responding? With no active missions in the region, NASA did something unprecedented. They quietly approved a classified CubeSat launch, a small unmarked satellite piggybacked onto a Mars-bound commercial rocket. Once in deep space, it split off and began its silent trajectory toward the Kuiper Belt. Its mission: confirm the origin of the signal. Meanwhile, data scientists across the globe were obsessed with the original binary pattern. Some claimed they found fractal structures in it. Others suggested it resembled a compression algorithm, as if the signal was a message being shrunk down to fit into a minimal transmission burst. One independent researcher from the University of Tokyo made headlines after claiming the signal contained a timestamp, an encoded date matching July 14, 2015, the exact moment New Horizons passed closest to Pluto. The implication was chilling. Had something on Pluto noticed the probe? By early 2025, the CubeSat neared its target zone. Unlike New Horizons, it wasn't just observing, it was listening. Equipped with state-of-the-art passive sensors, it began sweeping for radio frequencies across multiple spectrums. For days, nothing. And then it heard the signal again. Same frequency, same pattern. Only this time, the pulse was slightly altered, just enough to suggest it was reacting to the CubeSat's presence. It was as if something was watching, waiting, and when approached again, it responded. The discovery was immediately escalated. The Department of Defense was briefed, not because they believed it was a threat, but because the implications were staggering. If there was even a small chance the signal originated from an artificial source, then the laws of astrobiology and possibly physics had to be reconsidered. But the CubeSat's transmissions abruptly stopped 3 days later. NASA cited a malfunction, but experts weren't convinced. The satellite had been stable. Its onboard nuclear battery was still functional. Some speculated that interference came not from Pluto, but from something else in the Kuiper Belt. Something bigger. The strange readings from Pluto's surface had already stunned scientists, but the implications of what they were seeing would shake the foundations of planetary science itself. At the heart of the mystery was a structure, unnatural in its symmetry and reflectivity, discovered beneath a thin layer of nitrogen ice. Instruments aboard the New Horizons 2 probe, a theoretical follow-up mission in planning stages, had returned spectroscopic data no one could explain. This wasn't ice, nor was it rock, gas, or any known form of matter found naturally in the Kuiper Belt. The composition showed traces of metals rarely found in the outer solar system: tantalum, niobium, and even technetium, a radioactive element not believed to exist naturally outside of reactors or supernovae. How it could be present on Pluto was beyond comprehension. Immediately, the scientific community split into camps. One side argued that this must be a geological anomaly, a freak result of asteroid bombardments or cryovolcanism mixing strange elements. But others, more open to radical theories, suggested something far more astonishing. This structure may not be natural at all. The idea of intelligent design on Pluto was dismissed by the mainstream at first. But then came the most controversial data: symmetrical geometric patterns etched into the surface of the anomaly, arranged in perfect Fibonacci spirals. These patterns, photographed by the probe's high-resolution imaging system, bore eerie resemblance to the types of fractal architecture found in crop circles on Earth, except these were frozen into solid ice and metal on a planet 4.67 billion miles away. Could this be evidence of past intelligent activity, a long-lost alien artifact, or something even more enigmatic, an ancient probe or signal relay left behind as a warning or a message? NASA, ESA, and even private firms like SpaceX and Blue Origin convened an emergency roundtable. For the first time in decades, the possibility of a manned mission to Pluto was seriously discussed. The problem wasn't technology, it was time. A trip would take over a decade, even with modern propulsion. Still, the urgency was there. Whatever this anomaly was, it had already started shifting global priorities. Meanwhile, back on Earth, whistleblower data leaks hinted at something even stranger. A series of infrared readings taken decades earlier by the Voyager spacecraft and quietly buried in classified archives had recorded brief thermal spikes on Pluto's surface. At the time, it was dismissed as sensor noise. But in light of the new data, it looked more like activity. Could this structure be active? Could it be alive? Media outlets exploded with speculation. Headlines screamed of alien tech on Pluto, and NASA hid the truth for 40 years. Conspiracy theorists had a field day, but among all the noise, one question remained constant. If this object wasn't natural, who built it and why? What terrified scientists the most wasn't that they had no answers, but that all their answers contradicted known physics. The energy readings, gravitational anomalies, and electromagnetic echoes weren't just unexpected. They were impossible, and yet they were there. The final transmission from the probe, sent just before it mysteriously lost contact, was a burst of symbols. Not binary, not code. just a spiral of pulses in increasing intervals, almost like a countdown or a key.